everything changes.
This thing on? Okay. Welcome in, guys. It's Monday. It's March 28th, 2022. Thanks for joining me. And we're just going to jump right into it because I got so many comments and messages on my last video where I said you guys could ask me anything basically about e-commerce. And it has to do with the Shop Safe Act of 2021 and 2022. So this is going to be a long video. Bear with me because this deserves a lot of our attention. If you don't know what the Shop Safe Act is, Congress has introduced to the Senate and to the House of Representatives a bill aimed at e-commerce platforms, big and small. And essentially what they want to do is they want to protect us from counterfeit goods and dangerous goods that typically come from overseas, like in China or India or what have you. Basically, at its bare bones, the bill and the law is telling platforms like eBay and Amazon that they need to vet the sellers better. They need to have the seller's actual information. They need to have somebody who's responsible that can be sued if they sell a dangerous product. Let's talk about products like the hoverboards that were plugged in garages and caught on fire and burned down houses, right? We remember that. We talk about the video I did on the lawsuit of the dog, that retractable dog leash that snapped and hit the lady in the eye and took her whole eye out, right? She had to have her eye removed and a prosthetic put in. So these are some dangerous goods. And also, of course, counterfeits, just straight up pretending to be Apple, but they're not. Apple headphones, and the headphones end up melting, or an Apple charger, and you plug it into your iPad or something, you know, like this, and all of a sudden, an hour later, it's melted and fried your product. So at the end of the day, that's what it's trying to protect us from. And that's good. That's a good thing, right? The problem is the bill, the law that is being proposed, that is not passed, that is not law yet. I'll show you all of this in a minute. We're going to go over to my screen over here and check it out. It has a lot of really bad overreaching in it, and it could mean a lot of bad for us. Now, it could mean a lot of good because it could get rid of a lot of these bad sellers and a lot of these counterfeits, and that's good for everyone, buyers, sellers, the whole shebang, right? The problem is it could make it really hard on us as sellers to get past all of that. It's going to be to the point of requiring insurance, as Amazon already has. That potentially could happen on other platforms. This could also give them the power, the big brands, the big companies, the power, like an Apple, to shut down everything and just be like, if it's not us or who we say, which they already sort of do on Amazon for the most part, you can't openly sell an iPad or an iPod Touch or an iPhone on Amazon. It has to be through Apple or one of their distributors or licensed partners who are allowed to sell, not us. I can't sell my used iPods or Apple TV remotes or anything anymore. They don't allow it. And that could come to other platforms. So what I want to do, I thought the best way to address this is go head over. I'm going to show you, there's a couple of sites here with the breakdown of the bill. We'll go through it, and then I'll come back and talk to you guys a minute about what I think and about where I think this is headed and what will end up happening, in my opinion. This is a guess, but it's a pretty good educated guess at their history. And then I'll ask you guys to comment below and tell me what you think. Really super important, if you could. This has been asked all across the internet. I saw it on TikTok, which I barely even get on. You guys know I just started rolling on TikTok. I saw it on Instagram. I saw it in almost every Facebook group. It was commented on my YouTube channel a bunch of times. You can go back through my videos. You'll find comments about it everywhere. I was sent emails and messages, so it's everywhere. So please share this video. I'm not just saying that so I can get more views. That would be awesome, but this is super important because if I'm going to keep getting asked this over and over again, this video is going to be an amazing tool to basically reference for people. So just take the link, share it out on your Instagram, on your Facebook, or if you see it being talked about. Let's go over to the website. Let's check out the bill itself, and then we'll come back and discuss it. All right, so welcome to my computer. Here's the short story of it, the Shop Safe Act of 2021. This was introduced in May 26th, I believe, of 2021. It is not law. It has not been fully passed or signed by the president yet, so it is not law yet, but it could be, and we'll, of course, keep an eye on this. It stands for the Stopping Harmful Offers on Platforms by Screening Against Fakes in E-Commerce. Shop Safe, S-H-O-P, S-A-F-E. Okay. So they talk about customers may be unknowingly purchasing harmful counterfeit products. The problem is growing. U.S. e-commerce sales in 2020 exceeded $790 billion, of which Amazon did half, over $400 billion. So that's a pretty big number. Counterfeiters have moved online. We all know that. As a result, it's easy for customers to be misled into buying counterfeit products. We know that. We see that all the time. It says 25% of Americans have unknowingly purchased a counterfeit good. It's probably true. And counterfeiters escape the strict health and safety standards and regulations with authentic products must comply, posing significant threats to Americans' health and safety, like fake medicines or fake car seats. Here's a good one. An investigation found that a counterfeit child's car seat purchased on an e-commerce platform broke into pieces in a 30-mile-per-hour crash test, with the toddler-sized crash test dummy twisting as the car seat fractured, failing the federal regulatory requirements. So that's dangerous. There's a lot of danger, melting electronics, stuff catching on fire. We know about all this, right? So the current law holds direct sellers like brick and mortar retailers liable for the sale of counterfeit products. But under the current law, platforms that allow third-party sellers, that's us, to sell harmful counterfeit products are often not liable for the sales of those counterfeit products, even when the third-party seller is unavailable to remedy damage to the brand owner. So that retractable dog leash that snapped and hit that woman in the eye came from an overseas person, and when they went after them, it was gone. It was poof, vanished. And it came from Amazon. Amazon was like, we're not taking responsibility. You got to track them down in China and find them. And of course, that's not going to happen. And so Amazon skirted, but then they sued and they asked the court to hold Amazon liable, and Amazon lost one of those lawsuits. They won one, but they lost. So the judges are kind of torn on whether Amazon is actually liable or not. In my opinion, they are. Okay, the Shop Safe Act aims to combat the sale of unsafe counterfeit products by incentivizing the platforms to engage in the best practices for screening and vetting sellers and products. The act is tailored to products that have a health or safety impact, targeting counterfeit products that have the most serious consequences. So they're going to go after all of them, but of course they're going to target things like kids stuff and child's and etc. So that's just like the basic summary of it, right? We can close that. Here is the current status. If you go to congress.gov, this shows on May 26th, it was referred to the committee. It was read twice and referred to the committee. Introduced. It has not passed the Senate or the House or the president yet. So we're still waiting on this. It kind of just gives another summary, so we can close that one as well. And this is the bill page by page by page. So when you scroll down here, you literally can scroll and scroll and scroll, and you get down to the bottom page. And so this, you can read this by Googling it, but this is line by line. If you go over here, here's the actual Shop Safe Act summary that tells it to you in basically plain English. So this requires that the platform undertake certain best practice efforts for the platform to avoid liability. This means confirm the seller has a designated agent for service of process in the United States or a verified U.S. address for service of process in the United States. In other words, they want to know that you have an address that they can verify, which a lot of Chinese people have like warehouses and stuff. So that doesn't really change a lot, I guess. Verify the seller's identity, location, and contact information. Again, these counterfeiters and knockoff people and little Chinese sellers, I'm sorry, it's just where most of it comes from. They've mastered this, right? Like they've mastered the whole, I have a real warehouse. It's actually just a mailbox in the middle of nowhere with contact information. They're pretty good at that. Require the seller to verify and attest that its goods are authentic, which I think we already have to do, because whenever you log into eBay and list an item, you have to say, I'm not selling fakes. Condition the seller's use of the platform on agreeing not to sell counterfeits, consenting to being sued in the U.S. court, and designating an agent or verified address for service of process. So you have to agree that if you mess up, they can sue you, right? And you have to give them somebody with a verified address to serve when they sue you. Display in the listing the seller's identity, location, and contact information. This started happening with Amazon last year. Anybody who sells on Amazon knows this. On eBay, not so much. They don't actually require that in the main thing, but they are going to start requiring it. And basically, that's why you should have a P.O. box, or you should have some kind of private address. If you don't already, it's very, very cheap. You can get the smallest one. Anything that's too big for your P.O. box, they'll hold for you. And this is the country from which the goods will be shipped, with exceptions for personal information. So they won't show your personal information, but they will tell you the seller's identity, Worldwide Sales LLC or Casey Paris or whatever it is. My location, it might say Tampa, Florida, and my contact information. Okay, next, display and listing the country of the origin of the goods. Require sellers to use images that accurately depict the actual goods offered for sale and that the seller owns or has permission to use. In other words, don't use stock photos. I've only been preaching this for years and people lose their mind at me. Now they're going to punish it more. Good, good. You don't own those stock photos. Beyond this whole trademark thing, it's theft of the photographer's goods. Use your own pics, guys. Use your own pictures. Use technology to screen for counterfeits before a seller's goods appear on the platform. This is a bad for us because we might sell a real item and their software flags it as fake, and it's not actually fake because the software is not perfect, and we all know that. So that's kind of a bad. It's a good idea, like, oh, we'll use computers and AI and technology to make sure you're not listing, but it's not perfect. That's going to be tough. This, guys, this all comes back to like why I don't sell Prada and Gucci and Coach and Louis and all that stuff, because it's just too much of a headache. Find something else to sell, right? Okay, screen sellers to prevent terminated sellers from rejoining or remaining on the platform under a different alias. eBay already does that. So does Amazon. Provide a means to contact an allegedly infringing seller upon a registrant's request. In other words, they will give all your information to somebody. Counterfeit mark is given the term electronic commerce, goods that implicate health and safety, third-party seller, etc. Platforms with more than 500,000 sales an annual, which is pretty much all the ones that we use. And so that's the short story of that. Now let's go over here. Here's the long extended out one if you want, but I just read to you basically what they're going to do about identifying yourself and agreeing to all this. This was written on publicknowledge.org. So this is kind of an op-ed, like an opinion piece about this law, and I have to agree with a lot of what this says. And let me show you. From a consumer protection perspective, trademark law is simply the wrong tool for protecting people from unsafe products. Most counterfeit products aren't dangerous just by the virtue of being counterfeit, and many of the dangerous or unsafe products that people can buy online are off-brand, inexpensive products that come from countries that may have lower standards. Consumers are not drawn to these potential unsafe products because they are confused by infringed trademarks, but because these products are inexpensive alternatives. What that means is you may love Apple AirPods, but you're not going to pay $300 for them. So you find some $30, head pods that are not Apple. You don't care they're not Apple. You're willing to pay $30 for a cheap version of the headphones, and you're good with that. But what you don't know is those $30 versions are really bad and could melt. That's what they're getting at. It doesn't mean that it's somebody who's knocking Apple off. It's just somebody who makes a cheap product that could be dangerous to you. That's what they mean there. And that's true. It's very, very true. They don't have to be knocking off another company to make a bad product, clearly. There are even instances where the officially branded products wind up being the unsafe products, such as the Thomas the Tank Engine toys that had lead paint. Wow, coming from China. So they talk about what laws could actually work, and enacting legislation on high-level consumer things. The real beneficiaries of the Shop Safe Act are not the consumers, but the big brands that want to aggressively pursue knockoffs, cheap competition products, and the secondary resale market. Hey, that's us. Trademarks can be extraordinarily broad. Again, I've preached this on this channel, that somebody can stop you from selling something, hey, Rosetta Stone and Beachbody, simply because they don't want you to use their name. Even though you're selling authentic goods, they don't want you to do it, and they'll use this to stop you. Encompassing certain colors or even common words or phrases, creating such an expansive regime of trademark liability online will inevitably lead to brands pursuing aggressive protection of anything they deem remotely infringing, with little regard for ShopSafe's intended purpose of protecting consumers. For example, the infamously litigious Monster Cable Products. If you've never heard of these, please don't sell Monster Cable Products. They own more than 70 trademarks on the word monster and have gone after auto transmission, carpet cleaning machines, mini golf, people selling t-shirts, and job hunting site Monster.com, Monster Energy Drink, and even Disney over Monsters Inc. merchandise. It is easy to imagine how aggressive rights holders will abuse ShopSafe by bullying platforms into settlements over meritless claims of infringement and third-party sellers. This is crazy because Monster Cable Products really did go after the biggest companies in the world. You're talking about Disney and Monster.com, the biggest job site in the world. Monster Energy Drink, a huge energy drink company, hundreds of millions of dollars in sales. And they actually won several of these. You can Google this. They lost, but they also won some. Consumers will also be harmed by this expansive take. Back in 2020, Customs and Border Protection seized 2,000 units of what it claimed to be counterfeit Apple AirPods. In reality, the clearly labeled OnePlus brand wireless earbuds, while reminiscent of Apple's own wireless headphone offering, did not use any Apple branding or create any consumer confusion. Rather, CBP argued that the earbuds violated what it called a configuration trademark, meaning that they thought the OnePlus earbuds simply looked too much like AirPods. Expansive interpretations of trademarks like this will result in dominant brands using their deep pockets and entrenched positions to force out cheaper competitor products, reducing choice and competition for American consumers. And that's the part that I don't like. So let's come back to me and we'll talk about this a little bit more before I cut this video. Okay, so you guys can see that the bill, has good intentions to stop counterfeiters and dangerous products and FUBAR merchandise, right? Like, that's a great idea. We'd love it. We'd love to get rid of those Chinese sellers selling a bunch of junk so the rest of us can sell good stuff and make money. The problem is you've got a bunch of senators and congressmen introducing this bill and writing this bill who don't sell on the internet. They don't understand the power that big brands have in their deep pockets. They've never had products removed because a big brand just simply didn't want you to sell it or didn't want to compete with you, right? Even though you're legitimately allowed to sell it. This almost rewrites the first sale doctrine into like nothingness. It's pathetic. So while the bill has a good reasoning and intention, it has a really bad execution. I always call that, like, great plans are only great plans if you execute them correctly. Otherwise, they're terrible plans. The best laid plans, the best plan in the world is a horrible plan if you execute poorly. And they're executing this poorly. Will it get passed? My opinion is yes. I believe this bill has a lot of bipartisan support. There were a ton of Democrat and Republican Congress and senators who were behind this. So it has bipartisan support, which means both sides of the political parties are supporting it. I believe it has enough to get passed. I don't know the breakdown of who did or didn't co-write it and support it, but it was a lot. It was a lot. So there's a fair chance. Will it change before it gets passed? Of course, bills always change before they get finalized and passed. How much so, I don't know. Will big brands use this if it passes to take advantage and shut down a lot of sellers or a lot of listings? Yes, they absolutely will. Right now, we know of 15 or 20 brands. We know of Rosetta Stone and Monster Cables and Beachbody P90X. We know Wallet Ninja and Blue Parrot, and we know that OtterBox can be really bad about some stuff. So we know about 15 or 20 brands that are really notorious for just trademark and shutting you down. Minecraft can be if you don't have Mahjong on everything. So what happens when this passes and all of a sudden there's hundreds of brands? I don't know. Now, the thing I want to leave you guys with, besides asking you for your opinion down below, is don't fear this bill. Here's the thing. It's going to be a little while till it passes anyways. It'll be with midterms coming up. Who knows if it even makes it in this year. Here's my thing about this. It is good in removing those Chinese competitors that are selling garbage. And they always find ways around it, but it's going to be really hard for them to find a way around this because they have to provide all the information. They have to be able to be sued. They have to have somebody who's responsible. They have to be tied, bank accounts, all that sort of good stuff. They're going to have to provide insurance. It's really closing in on them. But these platforms and these big brands make so much money from all these sales. They're definitely going to fight this tooth and nail. And if it passes, they're going to, or the ones that want it to pass are clearly the ones that are going to want to take advantage of it. So We'll have to wait and see. I wouldn't, sky's not falling. Don't run out there and say that Rockstar said that the sky is falling. I just think that it's a very slippery slope. It's a gray line in the sand. And this bill has to get some changes, some edits. It has to be passed correctly, and it has to be enforced correctly. And the platforms and the big brands cannot be allowed to run wild, shutting people down left and right. They'll just shoot bite the hand that's feeding them anyways. So we'll wait. We'll see. I'm not scared of it. I don't sell any of that designer product Gucci crap anyways, but maybe Samsung starts shutting down all 500 Samsung remotes I have listed. Who knows? Anyways, I'll leave you guys with that. I appreciate you watching as always. Links are down below. Check out the description box before you go. Just take a second to check all those out. There's some super amazing helpful links, including Mark II, who is a licensed CPA. Tax time is in just 2 weeks from now, almost 3 weeks. So if you need tax help, do check out Mark's links down below in the description box. Until next time, guys, enjoy the rest of your evening, and I'll see everyone in the next video.